today about what is the European market. Why do companies want to get abroad? Why does Chinese companies want to get outside? It's very natural. There are many reasons. The reasons are about just the same as for any other country. You know, you want to develop internationally, you want to get new markets, you want to have expertise, you want to get access to resources, to know-how, to technology, you want to have a better image, you want to be more competitive at home. So there's a lot of reasons. And they're all natural and all the same. But since we live in a globalized world, just getting outside is not that easy. Because we are different. Our environment is different. We have seen the legal environment is different. People are different. Economic circumstances are different. At the end of the day, we have a different culture. We have different cultural conflicts. But we hardly talk about that. We hardly think just because I have my product, I can manage with my good quality. This has been a huge mistake foreign companies have made when they tried to get into the Chinese market at the beginning. They thought cultural differences, whatever. No, I don't care. You know, I have my great car. So it's my car, they love it. I have a good brand, so Chinese will buy it. So what about cultural differences? But later on, it turned out that for China it is very important to look at its own culture. It is very important to point out that, listen, if you want to be successful here, understand my culture. Understand how we think, understand what you want, understand whether or not you can fit in. So you have to walk up to me and show you that you're serious. And it's the same for Chinese companies. So at the end of the day, Chinese companies, they will improve their quality. They will have better know-how. They will have a much more higher level on understanding of the environment. They will learn where to get the information from. They will learn that. They will know that. But at the end of the day, whether or not they will be successful will very much depend on how they manage the cultural differences. This is the cultural differences with customers. It's the cultural differences with authorities, with the environment. This is very, very important. And we are culturally completely different. This is the way it is. I always use an example. And I always use the example of the language. You see, if we look at the Western language or the Latinized language, so the language which we use in Europe, that is based on Latinized words, you know, A, B, C. So everything we look at, for example, like culture. When we look at this, cultural conflicts, we see that it's simple. We have a C, a U, an L, a T, U, R, whatever. So this is our way of thinking. It is step by step. It's always a sequential approach. The Western approach is a sequential approach. This is how we talk to each other. We are very systematic. If you look at the contract, we say we have paragraph 1, 2, 3. If we have a plane, we say now I want to have this, and then this, and then this. This is the way we analyze our problems. This is the way we set up our strategy. It's sequential. Now at the same time, we look at the Chinese character. There is no A, there is no B, and there is no C. It's a character. So where do you start? Where? From this stroke? Where? No foreigner knows if he doesn't know the language. And the thinking is different. The thinking is not 1, 2, 3, ABC. The thinking is a holistic approach. So we are different. We use different languages and we use different way of thinking. And we use different ways of analyzing, problem solving. It's different. So more and more with the development of China, the intercultural challenges will be bigger and bigger. Just look back over the last hundreds of years, it was very much a Western world. We had our development, the Western world set the standards in different aspects. But it's changing. It's changing with the dynamics of China. It's growing, it's a big market, more and more companies going into the foreign markets, more and more tourists going into foreign markets, more and more Chinese actually settling down overseas. So people from very different cultures, they'll be more and more being exposed to each other. But we do have a complete different culture. Now those cultural conflicts, they will in the future not only be more and more important with regards to solving global problems, to living up to global challenges, because we have to master them together. But also from a corporate perspective, managing those challenges will define whether or not at the end of the day you're successful or you fail. Now, the first thing I want to show here is the way of thinking. As you can see from the pictures I've used here, I've used another approach of, besides the language I've mentioned. On the one side, this is the Western world. It's chess. Yeah, same. It's very structured and it's very step by step. On the other side, we have the Chinese approach of Weiqi. It's different, you know, it's moving from here and there and, you know, getting, so it's a different approach. And this also in a very good way represents our differences. Now looking at the way of thinking, if you look at the Chinese way of thinking, I call it's a Weiqi mode. You know, it's always moving around and finding the right way. If you look at the Western way of thinking, it's something which is called a chess mode. Very systematic, very much step by step, very logical. Now, talking about the habit of communication. So this one would show how would you define your strategy as an enterprise when you look at the foreign market. As I said, as a foreign company, you want to get information, you start here, 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 here. Very systematic. It's a Chinese company. Well, you know, I'm a little bit here and then maybe a little bit there and then I have a little bit here and some it's like Weiqi. And some, you know, then I get somehow what I need. So this is the complete different way of thinking when it comes to strategic development, for example. Now the habit of communication. So how do we communicate? How do we communicate with each other? How do we communicate with our partners? How do we communicate with our customers? So what is the different habit of communication? Looking again at the Western side, talking to each other or solving problems because you have to face up to the customer, we have something which is very, on the Chinese side, which we call quite passive. So it's not very much active driven, you know, it's listening and